I came home after 6 months working offshore to find my 3 kids abandoned and starving. My wife left a message. On the mirror, I'm leaving you the trash. You're not on my level. The judge ordered her to pay $9,000 monthly or go to jail. Sup Reddit. I'm Jake, 34 male. Worked 6 months on an offshore oil platform, sending home $6,000 every month like clockwork. Came back early to surprise my family. Instead, found my 3 kids abandoned, starving, sleeping on a piss-stained mattress in an empty house. My wife Victoria had stolen $48,000, cleaned out everything valuable, and run off with some millionaire. Left a lipstick message on the bathroom mirror calling our children trash. What followed was the most brutal legal battle of my life. By the end, the judge ordered her to pay $9,000 monthly in child support or face jail. Her millionaire boyfriend abandoned her in court. Her own parents disowned her. She lost everything. Here's how a woman who thought she was too good for her family ended up working double shifts to pay the man she abandoned. I'm an offshore welder. Been doing it 8 years. 6 months on, 2 months off. That's the rotation. You work 12-hour shifts 7 days a week for 26 weeks straight on an oil platform in the Gulf of Mexico. Dangerous work. Good pay. I was making around $110,000 annually. Before I left for this rotation, things seemed fine at home. Victoria and I had been married 9 years. We had 3 kids. Tyler was 11, Sophie was 9, and Danny had just turned 6. Victoria worked part-time retail, making around $4,500 monthly. We'd just bought a 3-bedroom house with a $2,200 monthly mortgage. The kids were in good schools. We were saving money. Life was functional. The arrangement was simple. I'd send $6,000 home every month. That covered mortgage, utilities, groceries, kids' expenses, everything. Victoria would use her income for personal stuff and extras. Made sense. 6 months straight, I sent that money without fail. That's $36,000 total. Had about $30,000 saved separately. Money I'd been putting away for years to pay down the mortgage faster. Victoria knew about it. We'd talked about being debt-free in 10 years. My rotation was supposed to end first week of December, but the job finished early. We completed the pipeline connections 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Platform supervisor gave us the option to head home early or stay for extra pay. Usually I'd take the extra money, but I'd missed Halloween and Thanksgiving with my kids. Decided to surprise them. Flew from the platform November 20th. Helicopter to the coast, then flights home. Thinking the whole time about surprising the kids. Got a rental car at the airport instead of calling Victoria. Wanted to keep the surprise intact. First thing I noticed pulling up to the house was the grass hadn't been mowed in months. Looked like an abandoned property. Second thing was the front window curtain torn and hanging crooked. Third thing was all the lights were off, even though it was dark outside. Got a weird feeling. Pushed it aside. Walked up to the front door. Put my key in the lock. It didn't turn right. Had to force it 3 times before the lock finally gave with this grinding sound. Should have been my first warning. Pushed the door open. The smell hit immediately. Old garbage mixed with something damp and biological. Made me gag. Flipped the light switch. Nothing. Power was out. Pulled out my phone flashlight. The living room was completely empty. The new couch? Gone. The TV I'd saved 3 months of overtime for? Vanished. Everything of value stripped out. All that remained was a disgusting stained mattress on the floor. The same mattress I'd been planning to dump before leaving. Then I saw them. My 3 kids were sleeping on that filthy mattress. Tyler had his arms wrapped around Sophie. Little Danny had red stuff smeared on his face. Old ketchup. They'd been eating ketchup because there was no actual food. None of them had blankets. The carpet underneath had dark, wet stains. Urine. The smell was overwhelming. Tyler woke up first. His eyes had this look no kid should have. Pure shame. Dad, you're home early. Where's your mom? She said she'd be back on Monday. Today was Thursday. Walked to the kitchen, opened the refrigerator. Expired mayonnaise. Something green and fuzzy. Nothing else. 6 months offshore, sending $6,000 home monthly. $36,000. Money for food, utilities, mortgage. Where did it all go? Dad, I'm hungry. Danny appeared barefoot. Mom only left bread 3 days ago, but there's none left. Gripped the counter. Took 3 deep breaths. Walked to the bathroom. The mirror had writing in red lipstick. I'm leaving you the trash. Below it, a folded note. Take care of your children. Don't look for me. I'm leaving with someone on my level. Photographed everything. Mirror, note, empty house, my kids. Tried calling her 3 times. Blocked. Went to the corner store. The owner, Carmen, looked at me with pity. Your children came every morning asking for bread. I gave them what I could these last few days. You owe me $30. A stranger had been feeding my kids. Paid her, thanked her, bought actual food, got back and started making instant noodles. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage so cold it felt like ice. Tyler sat watching me cook. Mom brought a man over. Started showing up maybe 2 months ago. He slept in your bed. Then a truck came and took everything. Mom said we were all moving together, but then she said only she was leaving. We had to watch them drive away. She said she'd be back on Monday. That was 5 days ago. 11 years old. Watched his mother abandon him for another man. Served 3 plates. Danny cried while eating. Sophie ate so fast she started coughing. Tyler wiped Danny's mouth with his dirty shirt, doing his mother's job. Something fundamental changed in me that night. She wanted to play in the big leagues. I was going to show her exactly what it cost to abandon my children. At 2 a.m., drove them to the emergency room. The doctor examined them, then took me aside. The youngest has severe dermatitis from prolonged urine contact. All 3 show signs of dehydration and malnutrition. When was the last time they ate properly? I just got back from working offshore. I didn't know. She gave me that look. Bad father. I'm going to have to report this to social services. Please, I just found them like this. Let me fix it. Something in my voice convinced her. Or maybe she saw Tyler with his arms around his siblings. This time. But if I see them like this again, they go into foster care immediately. She documented everything. Took photos, made notes. These records can be subpoenaed in custody disputes, she explained. She was giving me evidence. At the pharmacy, tried to pay the $100 copay for Danny's prescription. Insufficient funds. Tried again, declined. Pulled up my banking app. Balance, $0. 70 recent transaction. Outgoing transfer 4 days ago, $47,850. She'd emptied everything. The $30,000 I'd saved. The $17,850 from my last paycheck. Every single cent. The pharmacy tech waited, watching me realize what happened. The doctor appeared with free sample packets. Use these for now. My kids watched me accept charity at 3 a.m. Got home as sun was rising. Notice taped to the door. Foreclosure warning. Final notice. 6 months in arrears. The first missed payment was exactly when I'd shipped out. Every $6,000 I sent home, she pocketed while the mortgage went unpaid. Photographed that too. That morning, got the kids set up with food. Real breakfast. Sophie cried while eating. Said she couldn't remember her last hot meal. My 9-year-old couldn't remember her last real food. Called my boss. Explained family emergency. He understood. Next call was harder. Family law attorney named Gerald. Old friend of my father's. Scheduled an appointment. Showed him all the evidence. Photos from that first night. Mirror message, note, bank statements showing stolen money, foreclosure notice, medical records. He spread it across his desk and stared. Jake, this isn't just custody. This is criminal. Child abandonment. Fraud. Theft. Child endangerment. Can we get full custody? I'd be shocked if you don't. But here's the problem. If she has no documented income, a judge might order you to pay her spousal support. Even after all this, we need to prove she's financially solvent, has resources somewhere. Went home with those words echoing. That night, while kids slept, opened my laptop. Started searching for Victoria. Her Facebook was deactivated. Everything was gone or private. Then remembered she always used the same username. Birth year combination. Tried Instagram. Found her. Public profile under maiden name. Recently created. The photos made my hands shake. First image, Victoria, on a yacht in white bikini. Fancy drink in hand. She never wore bikinis with me. Caption, new beginnings, living my best life. Posted 3 days ago. Second, luxury restaurant, lobster. The man across from her wore a watch worth more than my truck. Posted 5 days ago. Third, shopping bags. Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Prada. Posted 1 week ago. Caption, finally living the life I deserve. No more holding me back. Photo after photo of luxury. All while my kids were starving, eating ketchup for dinner. Downloaded everything. Every image, comment, location tag. Stared until 3 a.m. She'd left us for a millionaire and was broadcasting it like she'd won the lottery. Called Gerald first thing. Sent him everything. He called back within an hour. This is perfect. She's living a lifestyle requiring significant income. We can prove she's financially supported. What's his name? No idea. I'll look into it. Filed everything that day. Emergency custody. Divorce papers. Child abandonment petition. Emergency hearing scheduled for 2 weeks out. Those 2 weeks were hell. Had to explain to the kids why we were going to court. Had to tell Tyler he might need to testify about what he saw. Kid was 11, and I was asking him to stand up in front of a judge and talk about watching his mother abandon him. Will Mom get in trouble? Sophie asked one night. Yes, sweetheart, she will. Good, she said quietly. Then started crying. Is it bad that I want her to get in trouble? Held her while she cried. No, baby. It's not bad. What she did was wrong. It's okay to want there to be consequences. Meanwhile, had to rebuild our lives from scratch. The foreclosure was immediate crisis. Contacted mortgage company, explained everything. That I'd been working offshore, sending money home monthly, didn't know it wasn't being paid. They were sympathetic but firm. 6 months behind meant foreclosure already in motion. Would need $13,200 immediately just to stop the proceedings, plus catch up on back payments. Didn't have $13,000, didn't have $1,300, had exactly $847 in my checking account from what I'd been paid before shipping home. Looked at my truck sitting in the driveway. Paid off. Good condition. Worth maybe $10,000. That truck had been with me for 8 years. Drove it to the hospital when all 3 kids were born. But it was just a vehicle. My kids were more important. Listed it online that night. Had 5 offers by morning. Sold it for $8,500 cash to a guy who picked it up that afternoon. Used that plus a $5,000 loan from my father to cover the immediate foreclosure threat. Bought a 15-year-old Honda with 180,000 miles for $1,200. Downgraded significantly, but we had a roof over our heads. Applied for assistance programs, food stamps, utility assistance, anything to stretch that $847. Pride didn't matter anymore. My kids needed to eat. Started working double shifts when I could find them. Local welding shops, weekend jobs, anything. Some nights I'd work 16 hours straight, come home at midnight, help Tyler with homework, make sure everyone was fed, and pass out for 4 hours before doing it all again. Tyler started helping more around the house without being asked. Found him one morning at 6 a.m. making breakfast for his siblings. Pancakes from a box mix, slightly burned, but he'd done it himself. You don't have to do this, champ, I told him. I know, he said, but you're working really hard. I want to help. 11 years old and acting like a third parent because he'd learned he couldn't rely on adults. That broke something in me. No kid should have to grow up that fast. Sophie had nightmares. Would wake up screaming that Mom was taking her away, that she'd wake up alone again. I'd sit with her until she fell back asleep, sometimes for hours. Danny stopped talking much. The kid who used to never shut up about his toys and his friends suddenly went quiet, would just sit and stare at nothing for long periods. Worried me more than the nightmares. But slowly things started improving. Got the foreclosure stopped. Caught up on utilities. Stocked the refrigerator properly. The house started feeling like a home again instead of a crime scene. Applied for state assistance with childcare so I could work. Got approved. Found a good after-school program for the kids. They'd go there after school until I picked them up after work. Cost was subsidized based on income. We were poor now, officially, but at least they were supervised and safe. Gerald came through with detailed information from his legal database searches. The millionaire's name was Preston, 47 years old. Made his fortune in commercial real estate. Multiple luxury properties across 3 states. Worth an estimated $10 to $12 million. Currently under investigation by federal regulators for securities fraud, but nothing proven yet. Victoria fit his pattern perfectly. 2 weeks later, walked into the courthouse. Victoria showed up with her parents. Father looked uncomfortable. Mother looked angry. Victoria wore designer clothes. Probably Preston's gifts. Judge Patterson was a woman in her 60s. 20 years on family court bench. Her face looking at our case file said she'd seen everything. But this was special. Gerald presented methodically. Photos of kids on that mattress. Medical records documenting dehydration, malnutrition, dermatitis. Mirror message. Note. Bank statements showing $48,000 stolen. Foreclosure notice. Then Instagram photos displayed on courtroom screen. Victoria on yachts. Luxury restaurants. Designer shopping bags. All posted while her children ate ketchup for dinner. Judge's expression shifted looking at each photo. Your Honor, Gerald said, this isn't a struggling mother making difficult choices. This is premeditated abandonment, followed by systematic fraud. Victoria's public defender tried objecting. Those are merely gifts. My client has no personal income and requires spousal support. Gerald smiled. Let's talk about those gifts and the $36,000 in mortgage payments that never reached the mortgage company. Showed documentation. Every $6,000 deposit I made. Mortgage statements proving no payments received. Transfers from joint account to secret account in her mother's name. From there, transferred to Preston. Victoria's mother covered her face. Father's jaw clenched. Additionally, the defendant liquidated her 3 children's college fund, $15,000. Paid 40% early withdrawal penalty for immediate cash. Pulled out the email. Read Victoria's response when asked why she needed money urgently. Why do they need college funds? My boyfriend will give them positions in his companies. We're building a better future. Judge leaned forward. She liquidated her children's education funds to support a romantic relationship? Yes, Your Honor. Judge turned to Victoria. Do you have anything to say? Victoria stood up, panicked. I was going to pay it all back. Preston promised he would help. I was going to bring the kids once we got settled. You abandoned 3 children ages 6, 9, and 11 in a house with no food, no power, no supervision for 4 days. And you're claiming this was part of a plan to eventually include them? I left them food. I told them I'd be back. Gerald pulled out corner store statements documenting my kids begging for food daily. Medical records showing malnutrition. Your Honor, I'd like to call Mr. Preston, who we subpoenaed. Preston stood from the back. Expensive suit, Rolex. Everything screamed money. Looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Mr. Preston, are you in a committed relationship with Ms. Victoria? It's complicated. We were seeing each other casually. I wasn't aware she was married with children until her son called my phone 2 weeks ago. Tyler. My 11-year-old had tracked down this guy's number. When did you become aware of her children? 2 weeks ago. When I found out, I ended things. But by then, she'd already transferred approximately $40,000 from various accounts. He turned to Victoria, expression cold. You told me you were single, no kids. No. That your family had disowned you. You said you were building a business and needed startup capital. Victoria stood fast. You knew. You knew everything. You promised we'd be together. Your Honor, I've filed a police report for fraud and theft. This woman gained access to my accounts under false pretenses. He walked out. Didn't look back. Victoria's parents stood up, started walking to the exit. Mom? Dad? Victoria's voice cracked. Her father stopped, turned. The look on his face was grief and disgust. I don't know who you are, but you're not the daughter we raised. We didn't raise someone who abandons her children and steals to fund a fantasy. They left. Victoria screamed after them. They didn't come back. Her lawyer stood. Your Honor, I need to withdraw. My client withheld material information. I can't continue in good faith. Packed up and left. Victoria alone at her table. No lawyer, no family, no millionaire boyfriend, just her and consequences. Judge Patterson picked up the mirror message photo, read it aloud. I'm leaving you the trash. You're not on my level. Silence. Ms. Victoria, you wrote that your husband and children were trash. Not on your level. The irony is breathtaking. She removed her glasses. Full custody to the father. Supervised visitation only, if he chooses to allow it. Child support will be $9,000 monthly. $3,000 per child, based on your demonstrated lifestyle which clearly requires substantial income. You'll also pay $3,000 monthly for 6 months as restitution for stolen college fund. Victoria shaking. I don't have any income. I can't pay that. Then find employment immediately. Additionally, I'm referring this to the district attorney's office for investigation of child abandonment, fraud, and theft. Officer, document the defendant's information. Gavel fell. Court adjourned. Victoria collapsed. I walked out with Tyler, Sophie, and Danny. Tyler had watched through the courtroom window, seen everything. Is she going to jail? He asked quietly. Maybe. Depends on what the DA decides. Good. Then immediately looked guilty. It's okay to feel that way, champ. What she did was wrong. Next few weeks were a blur. DA filed charges. Monthly child support started hitting my account automatically. $9,000 monthly, garnished from her wages before she saw it. She'd been forced to get a call center job, working 60 hours weekly to afford her studio apartment and the garnishments. Her Instagram went private. No more yacht photos. 6 months after the divorce finalized, got a notification. Preston had been arrested for federal securities fraud. The investigation had started after irregularities were exposed during a civil trial. My lawyers had basically handed the FBI what they needed while tracing Victoria's stolen money. Without knowing it, I'd helped bring down her millionaire boyfriend. Gerald called weeks later. Remember how she signed documents making her a partner in Preston's LLC? She's got joint liability for $200,000 in corporate debt. What does that mean? She tried declaring bankruptcy. Judge denied it. Said she has demonstrable income. The $9,000 monthly she pays you. So now she's working to pay you while simultaneously being sued for Preston's corporate debts. The woman who left because I wasn't on her level was now working double shifts to pay child support while buried under corporate debt from the millionaire who'd used her. Perfect. 3 months ago, got a text from unknown number. Please, can we renegotiate? I can't survive like this. Didn't respond. Just forwarded the mirror photo. Her own words. I'm leaving you the trash. You're not on my level. Block the number. That's when things got really interesting. 2 weeks after I blocked her, my lawyer called. Victoria's trying to file a motion to reduce child support. Says she can't afford basic necessities. Can she do that? She can try. But given her theft, fraud, and abandonment, Judge Patterson is going to eat her alive. Court date is next month. The hearing was short. Victoria showed up looking rough. Cheap clothes, no makeup, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She'd aged 10 years in two. Her new lawyer argued she was working 65 hours weekly at minimum wage and couldn't afford rent, food, and the garnishments. Asked for reduction to $3,000 monthly. Judge Patterson looked at her over those glasses. Ms. Victoria, when you left your children, you were living on yachts and shopping at Gucci. Now you want this court to reduce your obligations because you're working for minimum wage? Your Honor, I made mistakes, but I can't survive. You liquidated your children's college funds. You stole $48,000. You left them to starve. And now you want sympathy because you have to work hard? Victoria's lawyer tried to object. Judge Patterson held up her hand. Motion denied. The $9,000 monthly stands. Furthermore, I'm adding a provision. If you quit or are fired from any job, you'll be held in contempt and face jail time. This court will not allow you to strategically impoverish yourself to avoid your obligations. Again, gavel fell. Victoria walked past me on the way out. Didn't even look at me. Just stared straight ahead with dead eyes. That was 8 months ago. It's been 2 years total now since that first night I came home. The house got sold eventually. Used the money to buy a smaller place. Fresh start. No ghosts. The $9,000 monthly has never been late. Not once. It's automated. I put most into new college funds for the kids and savings accounts they'll get when they turn 18. Living off my salary alone is tight, but we're making it work. And knowing every dollar I save came from her having to work herself into the ground, that's worth more than gold. Tyler's 13 now. Made the varsity football team as an 8th grader. Kid's a natural linebacker. His grades are solid B's and A's. He smiles all the time now. Still protective of his siblings, but in a normal older brother way instead of the parent role he'd been forced into. Sophie's 11 and absolutely thriving. Joined drama club and got the lead in the school play last month. She's outgoing, confident, has a solid group of friends. Sometimes she'll randomly hug me and say, "Thanks for being here, Dad." Gets me every time. Danny's 8 and obsessed with dinosaurs. Kid can name every species, knows their diets, their time periods, everything. He's reading at a 6th grade level. Teachers say he's gifted. He doesn't remember much about that night anymore, which I'm grateful for. They don't ask about their mother. Not anymore. She's allowed supervised visitation but rarely shows. Too busy working her 2 jobs to pay the support that keeps her out of jail. When she does show, the visits are awkward and short. The kids are polite but distant. They've moved on. Moved. Her parents never reconciled with her. Last I heard through mutual friends, they wouldn't even accept her calls. She's completely alone. Works open to close at the call center, then does evening shifts at some retail store. Lives in a studio apartment with roommates. Eats ramen. Takes the bus because she can't afford a car. Meanwhile, her ex-boyfriend Preston is fighting federal charges and looking at serious prison time. His assets are frozen. His real estate empire collapsed. And Victoria's tied to his corporate debts, so she'll be paying those off for years, even after the child support ends. Last month, ran into one of Victoria's old co-workers at the grocery store. Woman looked uncomfortable when she recognized me. "I saw Victoria last week," she said quietly. "She looks terrible. She wanted me to tell you she's sorry, that she made a huge mistake." I just nodded. Didn't say anything. "Aren't you going to say anything to her? She's really struggling." Pulled out my phone. Showed her the photo of that bathroom mirror. The lipstick message. "I'm leaving you the trash. You're not on my level." "She made her choice," I said. "I'm just making sure she lives with it." The woman walked away, shaking her head. Read it. People keep telling me I should forgive her. That holding on to this is unhealthy. That the kids need their mother in their lives. That I'm being cruel. But here's what those people don't understand. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about anger. This is about consequences. This is about showing my kids that when someone hurts you, You don't have to accept it. You protect yourself. You protect your family. And you make sure they can't hurt anyone else the same way. She wanted to leave us because we weren't on her level. She called my children trash. She stole everything we had and left them to starve while she lived on yachts. She made those choices. Every single one of them was deliberate. Now she's paying for it. Literally. The judge gave her a choice. Pay the support or go to jail. She chose to pay. Barely. Every month she scrapes together just enough to avoid arrest. Lives in poverty, works herself sick, drowns in debt. And my kids? They're thriving, happy, safe, loved. They have full college funds now. They have food in the refrigerator. They have stability. They have a parent who actually shows up. That's victory, not revenge. Victory. Some nights I still wake up reliving that moment I opened the door. The smell. Tyler's ashamed face. The ketchup on Danny's hands. Those memories don't fade. They're burned into me forever. But then I walk down the hall and check on my kids. Tyler sleeping peacefully with his football trophy on the nightstand. Sophie with her play script on her pillow. Danny surrounded by dinosaur books. All three safe, warm, fed, loved, and I know I did exactly what I needed to do. Victoria made her bed on that yacht. Now she's lying in it, alone, working double shifts to support the children she abandoned, buried under debt from the millionaire who abandoned her, disowned by her own parents. No friends, no future, just work and debt and consequences. The irony really is poetic when you think about it. Actions have consequences. She learned that the hard way. And my kids learned something even more important, that their father will always fight for them, always show up, always put them first, no matter what. That's the lesson that matters. So to everyone saying I should forgive her, show mercy, think about the kids having their mother back in their lives. Nah, I'm good. She had her chance to be their mother. She called them trash and left them to starve. Now she pays $9,000 monthly to prove just how wrong she was about who's on what level. And honestly, watching her struggle to make those payments every month while my kids thrive, best money I never spent. Also had a detailed history on Preston. 3 previous relationships in the past decade, all with much younger women in their 20s and early 30s. All ended badly. 2 resulted in civil lawsuits. One woman got a restraining order after he threatened her when she tried to leave. He had a clear pattern. Love-bombed younger women in difficult financial situations, made them financially dependent on him, got them to sign documents for his business dealings, then ghosted them when they became inconvenient or demanding. Victoria fit his pattern like a glove. Youngish, financially struggling, married with kids she wanted to escape from. Perfect mark. That information went straight to Gerald, who was building a case that would have made a federal prosecutor jealous. The custody hearing day arrived, got the kids dressed in their best clothes, which wasn't saying much since most of their nice stuff had been sold or stolen by Victoria. But they looked presentable, clean, cared for. Left them with my father in the courthouse hallway. Tyler wanted to come in and watch, but I didn't want him seeing any more than he already had. Kid had been through enough. Walking into that courtroom felt surreal. The building was old, imposing marble and dark wood everywhere, high ceilings that made every sound echo. This was really happening. Victoria showed up 10 minutes late. Typical. Her parents were with her. Her father looked like he'd rather be at the dentist. Kept checking his watch. Wouldn't make eye contact with anyone. Her mother looked angry, but I couldn't tell if the anger was directed at me, at Victoria, or at the situation. Victoria herself looked like she was dressed for Sunday brunch. Cream-colored designer dress, expensive shoes, jewelry that sparkled under the courtroom lights, probably all gifts from Preston. Looked completely out of place in a custody hearing about child abandonment. The bailiff called everyone to order. Judge Patterson entered. Woman in her 60s, gray hair pulled back tight, reading glasses on a chain. Been on the family court bench for 23 years according to Gerald's research. She'd seen every variation of dysfunction. Abuse, neglect, addiction, violence, fraud. Her face when she opened our case file told me this one was going to stick with her, though. Counselor, she said to Gerald, you may present your evidence. Gerald stood. He'd organized everything into a timeline presentation that started with my departure for offshore work and ended with that first night I came home. Every piece of evidence was numbered, dated, cross-referenced. Started with the photos of my kids on that mattress, blown up on the courtroom screen for everyone to see. Tyler with his arms around his siblings trying to keep them warm. Danny with ketchup smeared on his face and hands. The urine stains on the carpet clearly visible in the phone flashlight. The empty room with darker squares on the walls where pictures used to hang. Victoria's mother actually gasped, covered her mouth with both hands. Her father closed his eyes like he couldn't bear to look. These photographs were taken by Mr. Jake on November 20th at approximately 6:30 p.m. when he returned home early from his offshore rotation, Gerald said. His voice was calm, professional, but you could hear the controlled anger underneath. He had sent $6,000 home every month for 6 months. $36,000 total. He believed his family was being cared for. Then came the medical records. The ER doctor's notes displayed on screen. Professional medical language documenting dehydration. All 3 children showed signs of moderate to severe fluid deficiency. Malnutrition, weight loss, vitamin deficiencies, lethargy, dermatitis from prolonged urine exposure. Danny's skin had started breaking down from sitting in wet clothes for days. The doctor's assessment: children appear to have been neglected for a minimum of 4 to 5 days based on presentation. Possible extended period of inadequate nutrition and supervision. Recommend immediate intervention and monitoring. Victoria shifted in her seat. Wouldn't look at the screen. Then the message on the mirror. That red lipstick writing blown up huge. I'm leaving you the trash. The courtroom went dead silent. You could hear people breathing. Judge Patterson leaned forward. She wrote this? Yes, Your Honor. In her own handwriting, in her own lipstick. Left for Mr. Jake to find. Then the note. Victoria's handwriting on flower-patterned paper. Take care of your children. Don't look for me. I'm leaving with someone on my level. The defendant called her own children trash, Gerald said, then abandoned them with no food, no power, no adult supervision for 4 days. Her oldest child, Tyler, age 11, was left to care for his 9-year-old sister and 6-year-old brother. Then the financial records. This was where things got really interesting. Gerald put up the bank statements. Every $6,000 deposit I'd made highlighted in yellow. 6 months of deposits, $36,000. Then the mortgage statements from our lender. Every month showing past due. No payments received, 0. Foreclosure proceedings initiated. Where did the money go? Judge Patterson asked. Excellent question, Your Honor. Gerald pulled out the transfer records. He'd subpoenaed everything. Showed transfers from our joint account, the one where my paychecks deposited, to a secret account Victoria had opened in her mother's name. Then from that account, multiple transfers directly to an account belonging to one Preston, the man she'd been seeing. Victoria's mother stood up. I didn't know. She said she needed help with bills. I didn't know she was transferring it to him. The bailiff told her to sit down. Judge Patterson was taking notes. Continue, counselor. Additionally, Your Honor, the defendant liquidated the children's college education fund without Mr. Jake's knowledge or consent. $15,000. Took a 40% early withdrawal penalty, meaning she sacrificed $6,000 in penalties just to get the cash faster. Pulled out the email from the investment company. They'd asked Victoria why she needed to liquidate the account so urgently. Her response was displayed on screen. Why do they need college funds? My boyfriend will give them positions in his companies when they're older. We're building a better future together. I need this money now for our new life. Judge Patterson's expression went from professional neutrality to barely controlled disgust. She sacrificed her children's education funds to finance a relationship? Yes, Your Honor. The total theft amounts to approximately $48,000 when you include the missed mortgage payments, stolen savings, and liquidated college funds. Then came the Instagram evidence. Gerald had organized it chronologically. Started with the earliest photo, Victoria on a yacht 3 weeks after I'd left for my offshore rotation. White bikini, fancy drink, huge smile. Caption: finally living. Next photo 2 days later. Luxury hotel room. Ocean view. Caption: sometimes you have to leave everything behind to find yourself. Then the restaurant photos. Lobster, fancy presentations, 5-star dining. Each one captioned with variations of I deserve this and living my best life. Shopping sprees. Designer bags from stores I'd only seen in movies. Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton, Versace. Photo after photo of luxury purchases. One photo showed her holding up a pair of shoes with the price tag still attached. $1,200 for a single pair. The timeline was damning. While I was working 12-hour shifts on an oil platform, she was living like a reality TV star. While my kids were running out of food, she was buying designer handbags. While Tyler was trying to keep his siblings alive on bread and ketchup, she was posting yacht photos. The captions got more brutal as they went. No more dead weight holding me back. Posted 4 days before she abandoned the kids. Ready for my upgrade. Posted the day she left. And the final post, made the day after she abandoned them. Finally living the life I deserve. No more trash bringing me down. The courtroom was silent except for Victoria's mother crying quietly. Your Honor, Gerald said, This isn't a case of a struggling mother making difficult choices under pressure. This is calculated, premeditated abandonment. She systematically stole money for months. She planned her exit. She left a message calling her children trash. This was intentional. Victoria's public defender stood up. Young guy, probably fresh out of law school, looked like he'd been handed this case that morning. Your Honor, those social media posts are taken out of context. My client was experiencing emotional distress from the marriage. The gifts from her friend were just that, gifts. She has no personal income and will require spousal support to maintain even basic living standards. Gerald smiled. Actually smiled. Let's talk about those gifts, Your Honor. And let's talk about strategic impoverishment. He pulled out more documents. 2 months before abandoning her children, the defendant voluntarily quit her job. She was earning $4,500 monthly at a retail position. She resigned citing personal reasons. No medical documentation. No compelling cause. She simply quit. Why does that matter? Judge Patterson asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. Because under state law, if a spouse deliberately reduces their income to avoid financial obligations, the court can impute income at their previous earning level. The defendant made herself indigent on purpose. She quit her job knowing she was about to abandon her family, knowing she'd face child support obligations, and believing that having no income would shield her from those obligations. The public defender objected. Speculation, Your Honor. Is it? Gerald pulled out text messages. These are messages between the defendant and Mr. Preston, obtained through legal subpoena. 2 months before she left, quote, "My lawyer friend says if I have no job, they can't make me pay anything." Preston's response, "Smart. Make sure you quit before you leave." End quote. Victoria's face went pale. Judge Patterson's expression hardened. Continue. Furthermore, Your Honor, I'd like to call Mr. Preston, who we've subpoenaed for this hearing. Preston stood up from the back row. 47 years old but looked younger. Probably had work done. Expensive suit, Rolex watch that probably cost more than my annual salary, perfect hair. Everything about him screamed money and arrogance. He walked to the witness stand like he was annoyed to be there. Didn't even look at Victoria. "Mr. Preston," Gerald said, "what is your relationship with the defendant? We were seeing each other casually for a few months. Were you aware she was married with 3 children?" Preston hesitated. I became aware of that recently." Recently? How recently? "About 2 weeks ago." 2 weeks ago. "And how did you find out?" "Her son called my phone." The courtroom went silent. "Her 11-year-old son called you?" Gerald let that hang in the air. "And what did he say?" "He was looking for his mother. Said she'd been gone for days. Asked if I knew where she was." "And what did you tell him?" "I told him I didn't know. Then I called Victoria and asked what the hell was going on." "And what did she say?" "She said it was complicated, that she'd explain later. I told her we were done." Gerald pulled out more documents. "Mr. Preston, did the defendant have access to your financial accounts?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Some of them, yes." "How much money did she take?" "Approximately $40,000 over the course of our relationship." "Did you give her permission to take this money?" "No. She had authorized access for household expenses when she was staying at my properties. She was supposed to buy groceries, pay utilities. Instead, she was transferring money to other accounts." "Did she tell you what she needed the money for?" "She said she was starting a business, some kind of online boutique. Said she needed startup capital." "And you believed her?" "I had no reason not to. She seemed legitimate." Gerald pulled out bank records. "These transfers from your account don't go to any business. They go to personal shopping, luxury purchases, and cash withdrawals." "Did you authorize her to buy $1,200 shoes with your money?" "No." "Did you authorize her to spend $3,000 at a spa?" "No." "Did you authorize any of the luxury purchases documented in these statements?" "No." "When I found out, I ended the relationship and filed a police report for fraud." Gerald turned to Victoria. "Miss Victoria, would you like to respond?" She stood up, shaking. "He's lying. He knew about my kids. He said he'd help support them. He promised we'd be a family." "Your Honor," Preston said calmly, "I have messages from the defendant explicitly stating she had no children, that she was single, that her family had disowned her because of her lifestyle. She fabricated an entire backstory." Gerald displayed the messages on screen. From Victoria. "I'm completely free. No strings attached, no kids, no ex breathing down my neck. Just me ready to start over." Preston. "That's what I like to hear. I'm not interested in complicated." Victoria. "Neither am I. That's why I left all that garbage behind." The word garbage hung in the air. Her own children. She'd called them garbage to her boyfriend. Judge Patterson removed her glasses. Ms. Victoria, do you have anything to say for yourself? Victoria was crying now. I made mistakes. I was going to come back. I was going to bring them to live with us once Preston and I got settled. I just needed time. You abandoned 3 children for 4 days with no food and no supervision, Judge Patterson said. Her voice was ice. You stole $48,000. You liquidated their education funds. You called them trash in multiple forums. And you're claiming this was all part of a plan? Preston promised he'd help me. He said we'd have a good life together. Preston stood up. Your Honor, I promised nothing. This woman lied to me about every aspect of her life. I have no relationship with her. When I discovered she'd stolen from me and abandoned her children, I ended all contact and filed criminal complaints. I'm only here today because I was subpoenaed. He walked out of the courtroom without looking back. They walked out. Victoria screamed after them. They didn't stop. Her lawyer stood. Your Honor, I need to withdraw. My client concealed material information. He left. Victoria was alone. No lawyer, no family, no boyfriend. Judge Patterson picked up the mirror photo. You called your children trash. Said they weren't on your level. Silence. The irony is breathtaking. Full custody to the father. Child support. $9,000 monthly. Find employment immediately. If you reduce income deliberately, you'll be jailed. Gavel fell. 2 years later, Victoria works 3 jobs. 80 hours weekly to afford a studio and make garnishments. Preston got arrested for securities fraud, looking at 15 years. She's liable for his corporate debts. Tried bankruptcy. Denied. The $9,000 monthly never stops. I put most into college funds. Tyler's 13, varsity football. Sophie's 11, lead in the school play. Danny's 8, reads at 6th grade level. They don't ask about her. She rarely shows for visits. Her parents never reconciled. She's alone, working constantly, living in poverty. People say I should forgive her. But this isn't revenge. This is consequences. She called my children trash and left them to starve. Now she pays $9,000 monthly while my kids thrive. Best money I never spent. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.